Now, as you might know, indigenous culture in Peru is very strong, one of the strongest indigenous cultures in the Americas. And I always say the reason for that is that these guys can go out into their backyards and they can see remnants of their forefathers, these incredible structures that the ancient Incas left behind. Some of them are so meticulously crafted, you can't get a credit card in the slots of these over 1,000-year-old structures. So quite an amazing historical people, quite an advanced historical people, the Incas. And we know a little bit about these people from the Spanish records. And, for the Incas, November 16th, 1532 was kind of the beginning of a really, really difficult period. We know that Francisco Pizarro, a Spanish explorer, a conquistador, arrived in the northern coast of Peru. And he arrived with about 128 men, a band of horses, and they got to the coastline and they were a little bit nervous because they saw on the hill thousands and thousands of these indigenous people awaiting their arrival, of course, trying to prevent them from getting onto their territory. So they camped on the hill, and the next day Francisco Pizarro and his men went to battle. And we know from the record that in that first day alone, they slaughtered over 3,000 people because the indigenous people didn't have the swords and the horses to really be able to defend their territory at the time. Now, it only took about a year for them to march all the way down into Cusco, depose the king of the Incan Empire, and pretty much that left the entire empire to be theirs. And you can see that the empire stretched from north of Ecuador halfway down Chile. So this was an absolutely massive empire. And one of the mysteries of the Incas is they say, yes, this was a very advanced civilization, but one of the curious things is they didn't know how to read or write. One of the earliest, most advanced civilizations that was illiterate. Well, they've now found sites around Cusco, around northern Peru, these things called quipu. And a quipu looks like this. It's a long string, and coming off of that string are other knotted strings. And they first thought this was a simple form of arithmetic. People could run their hands down the quipu and do addition, subtraction, multiplication, etc. Well, they've now re-looked at these things. They think, wait a second, perhaps this was the first form of writing. It was a binary code. People could actually run their hands down the quipu and transmit messages that way, sort of like a braille system. Again, we don't know too much because when the Spaniards came in the name of God, they pretty much tried to decimate any former culture of the Incas. They burnt all of, they destroyed structures. They would try to, destroy anything that had relevance to their people so they could subjugate them under the grace of God. Now, culture has definitely changed since the time of Francisco Pizarro. Now we have Inca Cola, one of two countries in the world where Coke is outsold by a competing soft drink. The other, I'm told, is in Scotland, where Iron Brew outdoes Coke, which is quite an amazing thing if you want to impress your friends at Jeopardy! But at the same time, you should know that when I went on the Inca Cola website a few months ago, I noticed that Inca Cola was recently bought by Pepsi. So in fact, it's just the same old Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. But anyway, a very interesting cultural place because we do have such a strong indigenous presence, and it is so unique around the world. So that's it, a little bit on the history and culture of Peru. Hope you've enjoyed it and you continue my tour through this wonderful country.